This is probably the most important lesson that I can teach you. I'm sharing you my personal legacy to inspire you to start thinking about yours deeply. Legacy doesn't happen overnight. If I continue on this trajectory, that I will have failed. Even if the odds are against you, you must still do it. Hi, I'm Ryan Blair, a New York Times bestselling author and serial entrepreneur. I've had $2 billion in sales and $1 billion in exits, and today I'm going to share with you some information that's going to help you become more successful as an entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy. We're going to talk about a tricky subject. On the surface, the idea of legacy seems simple. I think we all are inherently born with this desire to change the world. The reason why legacy is tricky, though, is because that desire requires a lot of ego. So think about the idea that you, of all people, could change the world. It is pretty crazy. It requires you to have a healthy dose of ego. And I say healthy because it's not that we'll ever be without ego, it's that we have to have a healthy ego. Because each of us has a unique calling that has been assigned to us by our Creator. So we are uniquely called to be able to do something so impactful that it can change the world. Legacy is about not necessarily calculating exactly the level of impact that you make. Legacy is about making an impact that you may never get credit for, that you may never receive the benefit of. Reminds me of an old Zen proverb that states that a wise man plants a tree that he will never sit under and receive the shade of. That's what legacy is about. It's about planting trees today that you will never get to see. And so it's difficult in our money-obsessed and our status-obsessed world to actually transcend our desires for the self, truly transcend them and become legacy-oriented and impact-oriented. Each of us wants to create a legacy, and I've shared with you many times that we are all here with an identical purpose. We just have different vehicles to support us in that purpose and in that calling that has been uniquely assigned to us. The common purpose that we all have is to leave behind a world better than we found it in whatever way we possibly can, and to leave behind love and wisdom along the way. Now, in order for us to do that, to transcend our egotistical, selfish desires, and to focus on legacy and impact and service to others, we have to do a lot of growth and a lot of growing. And so today in our session, we're going to have a conversation about legacy. We're going to dive into some of the people that we admire the most, that have created legacies that we look up to, both living and no longer with us. Then we're going to ask ourselves some deep questions about the legacy that we are going to leave behind and get really clear on that. We're going to get clear on the legacy that we're going to leave behind based on where we're at today. Meaning, if our time gets called today, if we get called up today, what would the legacy be that we leave behind? And would we be proud of it? Or would we have regret? And this is probably the most important lesson that I can teach you. It is one that I spend a lot of time thinking about. It's also one where I can see a pattern in all of the great leaders, the books that I've read, the leaders that I've been inspired by, the heroes that I have studied and that I have learned about and tried to embody the characteristics of. All of them have one thing in common. They've left behind a legacy. I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King, huge fan of Moses and various biblical characters. Gandhi, I'm a big fan of Gandhi. I've studied a number of different great leaders, whether it be in the Buddhist tradition, the Hindu tradition, the Jewish tradition, the Christian tradition. And I have friends in all of those traditions because I want to adapt their best practices and learn from them, regardless of their race or background or ethnicity or region that they come from, so that I can leave behind a legacy that is one of unity. See, I believe, I personally, and I'm sharing you my personal legacy to inspire you to start thinking about yours deeply. I believe that I was put on this planet to unify people from different religions, different geographies, different ethnicities, different political beliefs, and to put us all together, find common values, grow together, learn from each other, and as a result, bring more unity to the world. That's my personal legacy. To be legacy-oriented, you have to look at the actions that you take today, and you have to ask yourself questions like, is that going to negatively affect my legacy or positively? affect my legacy? How will this action that I'm taking today impact the big picture versus the short term? Oftentimes we choose short-term gratification over long-term prosperity. And we do so all the time. We do it in the refrigerator most often. We look in that refrigerator and we say, I'm going to take on some short-term gratification, and that makes an impact in our long-term legacy. And we all know what vices that refrigerator holds for us, and how often we fall to our lower selves, myself included, and make a short-term decision over a long-term decision. You can see how legacy-oriented you are in all of the decisions that you make. And to be legacy-oriented, you need duration. You need a lot of time to really create a legacy, or at least to have the best odds of creating a legacy. You need time. You need time to grow. You need time to heal. You need time to make an impact. And you need patience. Legacy doesn't happen overnight. Legacy is built over many nights. I'm gonna share with you a personal story. I've been recently called in my new soulmate relationship to go traveling. She's an adventurer, she loves to travel, and I had shut that part of me off because I traveled for the wrong reasons, with the wrong intention in my prior work. I was traveling to make money, I was traveling to gain status, I was traveling to party, so it was unhealthy. And I traveled a lot, 20 days a month. I was running from my mother being in a coma, from the pain that I was dealing with from the trauma that I had unresolved as a child, and I was dealing with a lot of other items going on, and I was on the road distracting myself as much as I could. And so I equated traveling with something that was negative. And then obviously COVID hit, and it was real easy for me to continue telling that story. And then all of a sudden I meet my soulmate and she says, do you like to travel? And I said, well, I can learn to like to travel again. And we went to Mount Shasta, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there with Reagan, my son, and my soulmate, Melody, and Reagan says, oh, Dad, a bear came up on the balcony last night. And I said, that's crazy. A bear did not come up on this balcony. It was a multi-story property. The bear would have had to go up 3 flights of stairs, then come on the balcony. That's not an easy thing to do. I thought Reagan was telling a lie. And he doesn't lie, but I thought maybe he just has a wild imagination. Maybe he got scared because he said it was at night when Melody and I had gone out to dinner. I thought maybe he had imagination, maybe he had made this up, maybe his fear took over. And then he goes, yeah, Dad, the bear's right there. And he points, and I look, and there's the bear. Right there is the bear. I'm like, what? Not only had he been talking about it, but somehow this bear magically appears right in front of us as proof. And I was like, Reagan, you're right, that is a bear. Stay inside. And I was like, wow, there's a bear on the property. Then I started asking myself, what does this spiritually mean? Because anytime an animal like that comes and says hello to you as close as this one did, there could be a much deeper meaning to it. In fact, I believe in my beliefs, based on studying Native American traditions and the various biblical traditions that I've studied, and other traditions as well, that generally an animal can be a messenger. So I had another vacation planned. Last week was my birthday, and thank you very much to those people that, or those of you I should say, that said happy birthday to me on Instagram and sent me kind words. And I had another vacation planned to Hawaii, where I was going to relax on the beach and do some journaling and so forth. And all of a sudden, the house that I had rented in Hawaii, right on the beach, beautiful house, had fallen out. The owners rejected my booking and said they're gonna give me a refund. And so I saw that as a sign that I'm not supposed to be in Hawaii. So seeing the bear as a sign, praying about it, all of a sudden Alaska came to my mind. And next thing you know, I'm booking a trip to Alaska to go spend time with the bears. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you could see that I was in the water with wild grizzly bears in the weirdest situation I'd ever dreamed of. And I'm watching 9, 10 grizzly bears in the water within 10, 15 feet of me in Brooks Falls, Alaska. Generally, people have to book this over a year out to get to this place. And I just so happened to be able to get the tickets right then and there. And I got to give credit to Melody, my soulmate on that one. She pulled it off somehow. And next thing you know, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at these bears, and they're just standing in the water, and fish are jumping out at them, and they're just grabbing these fish. And I asked our Creator in a prayer, I said, what's the message I'm supposed to receive? I've come all this way. It was really hard travel. It was not easy to get to Brooks Falls. And immediately pops into my mind the word patience. Those bears just sit there all day long. The fish jump out at them, they grab the fish, but they have to have patience. And so I thought, wow, you normally wouldn't think about a bear as having patience. But when there's an abundant food supply, as there is in Alaska at Brooks Falls, the bears are patient. Patience is a part of abundance. Patience is required to build a legacy. And if you want a legacy of abundance, you have to have patience. That was one of the many lessons that I took away from that experience. I'll share more later, but I thought I would share with you, for those of you that were wondering, why am I in the water with wild grizzly bears? It was because I received a spiritual sign at Mount Shasta, and I followed that sign all the way to the most north that we can go in America, to Alaska. When you're building a legacy, you need to think beyond your future. You need to think about the future of the people that you're making an impact in the lives of, and you need to think about a future that you may never see the results of. AlterCall's legacy is going to be to heal at scale. And we're going to do that by unifying people. We're going to do that by way of leading with love, teaching with love, learning with love, receiving your feedback with love, and sharing and spreading love. As I said, in order to really have a healthy legacy, you have to have a healthy ego. Because who am I to think I can change the world? Well, I can't. But when I'm in alignment with my personal values, when I'm in purity and alignment and agreement with our Creator, who knows? I might just have an impact in the world that makes a change. Some might say that you've already changed the world. If you've imparted wisdom, values, and love to others, you've already made a change in the world. And I agree with that. I know that I certainly have already made a change in the world by way of the people that I've inspired, that I've taught, and that I've worked with and developed and grown through my entrepreneurial endeavors and spiritual endeavors, for that matter. But we're not done here, because I believe that each of us has a legacy within them that they have yet to tap into, a capacity within them that they have yet to connect to. And I believe that each of us has the ability to go much further than we are today if we do the work that I'm going to walk you through here briefly. Now, I'm going to share with you another personal story that got me really focused on legacy. I did a meditation where I went to my last day on earth. I was old and gray, 90 some odd years old. I was lying there based on all of the acts that I have done, all of the growth, the transcendence, transformation, the service, the charitable contributions that I've done so far. I then went to my 99th year. God willing, I lived to 120. But I went to my elderly years, and I realized that I had not done something that I had came here to do. I realized that if I continue on this trajectory, that I will have failed to achieve my soul's purpose while on this earth. I will have failed to achieve the legacy that I'm seeking to create. And that's what got me really focused on doing the work to call in my soulmate, to be worthy of a soul being assigned to me by our Creator, and me being assigned to her by our Creator, and to create unity with one individual, to know love romantically, to know love intimately, and to be able to turn that love into a family. And when I realized that if I continue at this trajectory, that I will look back and say, I didn't leave behind the family legacy that I wish I would have. That's when I got really serious about calling in a soulmate, doing the work to remove the undesirable characteristics within me, to heal the ways that I was operating that were not conducive to bringing in a soulmate, to make the space in my calendar and in my life to go on adventures, to realize that there's much more to life than the income and the money and the work that I was doing, that the real spiritual development that I would learn and build a legacy from was not necessarily just the work that I was doing, but also the work that I was doing and the relationships that I was creating. And that there's no greater spiritual growth that one can obtain than the growth of receiving feedback from someone that they deeply love and growing from that feedback. So that's what set my course into the direction of praying for a soulmate, doing the work to clear my vessel so that I would be worthy of a soulmate, to receive and to recognize a soulmate when she arrived, and then now to build a life with her. Because I'm seeking to create a family legacy that Reagan can join and be proud of, that will be a model for how a family can be created at any stage in life, and how a family can make an impact together. Legacy is about relationships. The relationships that you have with yourself, the relationship that you have with your Creator, the relationship that you have with your children, your children's children, your family members, your friends. That's your legacy. Many of you have probably been, you're my age or older in some cases, you've probably been to some funerals. And you could see the difference in a funeral where someone had developed and invested in relationships and one who did not. You could see it clearly by the people that show up, the level of gratitude that they have for their transitioned loved one, the level of grief and sorrow that they have often, the amount of people that show up, the difficulty that they go through to show up, traveling from around the world to be there, to pay tribute to the transitioned loved one. And then we've all seen funerals that are not well attended at all. For many years, I would go visit my grandmother multiple times a week at the cemetery not too far from my house here in the Hollywood Hills. And I would drive there and I'd sit with her. This was prior to AlterCall being started. And I'd sit with her, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my grandmother all together. I'd sit there and I'd observe the different funerals that would be happening at this large cemetery. And you could see some people had done the work, had invested in relationships, and had created a legacy. You could see it by the fact that there were still flowers on their tombstones decades later. And then you would see the ones that were abandoned, the ones that didn't have relationships to leave behind. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to take building a legacy seriously. I hope you'll join me in this exercise of looking at our life as though it were to end today, even writing a eulogy out and say, what would I want my eulogy to be? What would my eulogy be if my life ended today? Going to your 90s, 100s, God willing 120, and ask yourself, if I were to go to the very end days and look back, what do I want to say my legacy encompassed? For me, I want to create a movement of spiritual entrepreneurs that embrace unity, that's 1 billion strong. I want to innovate in technology and make discoveries that enlighten humanity. That's why we're investing so heavily in our AI. I want to build the world's largest mentoring organization. That means we're going to need thousands upon thousands of coaches and millions upon millions of people that are being coached, powered by technology, powered by a movement of spiritual entrepreneurs all around the world to make an impact in 1 billion plus people's lives. And I want to leave behind a family that is filled with love and wisdom, that embodies the highest virtues, integrity, and values, that is purpose-driven, future-oriented, values-aligned, intentional, long-term thinking, big-picture thinking, impact-oriented, that transcends personal success, that is a learning family, that is a mentoring family, and that is collaborating. That's the legacy that I'm seeking to build. I've shared with you my legacy because I want to inspire you to take whatever elements that I have written here and adapt them and make them yours, or write your own map out for how your legacy within your family and your community is going to unfold. Because there's 2 ways to build as a spiritual entrepreneur. We can build reactively, or we can build proactively. When you build reactively, you build with chaos and regret. When you build proactively, you're able to embody the highest levels of energy. You're able to build thoughtfully, intelligently, and you're able to build great products and services that make great impact. I'm going to share with you a couple of heroes of mine, and many of you I'm sure share, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that they said. When you think about legacy, I want you to think about what are the words that you're going to leave behind. If there is one quote that you leave behind, what is that going to be? Gandhi said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Nelson Mandela said, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." Abraham Lincoln said, "In the end, it is not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years." Mother Teresa said, "Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier." Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." Joan of Arc said, "I'm not afraid. I was born to do this." Da Vinci said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." Eleanor Roosevelt said, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." Galileo said, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself." Rosa Parks said, You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right. Steve Jobs said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work." Elizabeth Cady Stanton said, "The best protection any woman can have is courage." Now, these are some of the spiritual and cultural leaders that we've had, and I'm going to share with you a few entrepreneurial quotes that I thought were legacy oriented. Once again, one of my favorite people to study, Steve Jobs. "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower." Steve Jobs. Elon Musk, "If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you must still do it." As I said earlier, to leave a legacy, you must take risk. Bill Gates, "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning." I love that quote, and that's one of the quotes that we seek to embody here at AlterCall in our work with you. When you give us feedback, we take it to heart. Oprah Winfrey, "The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams." Warren Buffett, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Mark Zuckerberg, "The biggest risk is not taking any risk." In a world that's changing quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks. Jeff Bezos, "Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room." Sarah Blakely, "It's important to be willing to make mistakes. The worst thing that can happen is to become memorable." Anita Roderick, the founder of The Body Shop, said, "To succeed, you have to believe in something with such a passion that it becomes a reality." So I will conclude with a simple question. What's your legacy? What will your legacy be? Go ahead and write down, and we'll take a couple of minutes. And I want you to write down a simple statement. My legacy will be, we're gonna break for about 5 minutes here. And I'd like you to write, my legacy will be, and just go ahead and do some automatic writing. If you misspell, that's okay. We're not editing in this writing session. We're going to write. Writing is deleting. We're not editing. So just write your heart out. Write what your soul wants to state. My legacy will be, and go ahead and write that out now. And we're going to go ahead and break for 5 minutes. Go ahead and write. Welcome back, welcome back. Now, the next step is another writing exercise. Now we have to write up a list of all that we need to let go of. Spiritual act number 4, on the 9 acts of spiritual entrepreneur number 4, what do we need to let go of in order to fulfill our legacy? So let's go ahead and write that out. Write out, automatic writing, write from the soul. What do you need to let go of in order for you to fulfill your legacy? What do you need to heal in order for you to fulfill your legacy? And what do you need to restrict to fulfill your legacy? So what do you need to let go of? What do you need to heal? And what do you need to restrict to fulfill your legacy? I always love to use relationship context because it's really easy to look at that. So obviously, I needed to heal some things in order for me to call in a soulmate, such as self-worth related issues. Needed to heal the past in the way that I was, in a relationship in the past. I needed to heal lower self-related activities. I needed to heal superficial elements. I needed to heal all kinds of things in order for me to call in that relationship. I needed to let go of some things to heal that relationship, and I certainly needed to restrict some things to heal that, or to call in that relationship. So I share that with you because it's real easy when we look at something like that to get very clear. Now, look at the other elements of the legacy that you're seeking to build and ask yourself, what do you need to let go of? What do you need to heal? And what do you need to restrict to ensure that you end your final days with that legacy as a result of your time here in this life? So I'm going to go ahead and have you continue writing. We'll be back in 3 minutes. You have 90 seconds. Welcome back, welcome back. Hopefully you've written down what you need to heal, what you need to let go of, what you need to restrict. And now I want you to write a final legacy statement. And that is, in order for me to fulfill my legacy, I need to do, and write down what you need to heal, what you need to restrict, and what you need to let go of. So in order to fulfill my desire to leave a legacy behind, I need to heal this let go of this, and restrict this. And hopefully by the end of this writing exercise, you should have a legacy statement. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, help boost this video. I want to get the word out about my work and I could use your help. Thank you so much and God bless. If you want to learn more about how I help entrepreneurs scale their businesses and the work that I do with regard to culture, I'm offering an hour of my time to 8-figure entrepreneurs scaling to 9 figures. Or if you're a 9-figure entrepreneur scaling to 10, I'd be happy to talk to you for an hour where we can dive into tactics and strategies on culture or anything else that you're up against as an entrepreneur scaling. It's on me because I want to meet people doing big things in the world and I want to share with you what I'm up to as well. Go ahead and click on Learn More, book your time, and I look forward to meeting you.